folks. Well, today we are out in the mountains and the black flies and the mosquitoes, not so bad today, but the deer flies are insane. They're all around my head and I have a feeling they're going to be all around my head all day. But the place that we're going today, I'm pretty excited about. I've been instructed by the landowner to hike a ways on this trail, I guess you could call it, until I find a clearing. In the middle of this clearing is a cellar hole from what used to be an ice cutter in the 1800s and earlier. In order to keep your food cold, people would buy ice from people called ice cutters, and essentially they had a little pond that they would cut ice out of and sell all summer. And apparently that's what this place was. Operated until probably the early 1900s when they went out of business. It's out here somewhere. It's beautiful. Minus the deer flies. Still walking along this trail, and it is absolutely gorgeous out here. Where I'm in this big stand of pines at the moment, but there's still like this blanket of ferns everywhere. Gorgeous. But anyway, I was walking along and something white caught my eye. I looked down. Check this out. Right next to what I believe are some moose tracks. Check it out. At first when I saw it, I was like, is that a chicken egg? Obviously it's not a chicken egg, it's a turkey egg. Isn't that funny? What a place to pick to lay your egg. Beautiful out here. All right, let's keep going. Oh man, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but there's a moose through there. It is a female, so if it has babies, I don't want to get too close. No, she's gone. Just like that. Whew, man, I'm shaking. You know, you always have a idea in your mind of how big a moose is. You think like a horse-sized. They're nowhere near the size of a horse. They're so much bigger, taller. You know, their body off the ground, their legs are long. It's incredible how big they are. It moved silently. You know, I was walking through pretty quietly to arrive to the site, and I just looked up and it was this giant brown mass standing there looking at me. And it just very calmly and quietly walked off into the woods. Hopefully you were able to see some of that, but if not, you'll just have to take my word for it, I guess. Man, that was incredible. All right, a little bit further, I guess. All right, well, I do believe we're here. There's a big clearing. I don't see the tree stand that they told me about on the edge of the clearing, but there's a big cellar hole in the middle of it, so this is definitely the spot. So there's the big hole in the ground. I don't see any stacked stone. Sometimes the stones were taken later on by other people that moved into this area, and sometimes it just caved in, so you know they might still be in there. They're just under soil, which is probably the case. I can actually see a couple stones over there. So somewhere around here there's also what's left of a reservoir where they would have, you know, been cutting the ice, and also the ice house where they would have been storing it. So we're gonna take out the metal detector, see what we can find around the home, and then go looking for those other things. What an awesome spot. All right, well, since the landowner said that they use this clearing for hunting, there's a tree stand over on the edge, I was completely expecting to find a ton of lead and shotgun shells and shell casings and that sort of thing. So very surprised that my very first target here is not one of those things. In fact, it was very shallow and it winds up being an old underwear button. And check it out, there's still thread in it. And there is writing around the outside. Let's see if we can get that identified. Alright, it says, warranted not to cut. Not entirely sure what that means, but we do often see buttons that say warranted from the 1800s. We lost our string here, cleaning it off, but that's okay. Cool. First, probably 100-year-old, 150-year-old button, underwear button. Looking promising. Let's keep going. So it's becoming more and more apparent that this operation up here was in existence all the way up until, probably even the early 1900s. Because I'm finding a lot of sheet metal, and it all comes off as pretty nice targets, and I'm spending a lot of time digging them. As America started kind of getting rolling, the Industrial Revolution kicked in, people kind of swapped over from being pioneers who hung on to the things that they found valuable to a little bit more of a throwaway society, where you're going to find stuff like this, cans, stuff that was just kind of strewn about. We're going to do the best we can. We've been here a while already. We did find a few buttons, but that's about it. And a lot of this stuff. We're going to spend some more time. Cross our fingers here. Alright, we just found something I've found in the past. Check it out. This is really heavy. I'm pretty sure it's a finial for the top of something. Bedpost. Really, anything. Flagpole. Just to add some decoration. Jeez. They must have been doing pretty good up here. They've got beautiful stuff like this. That's a heavy piece of brass. That was hard to miss with the metal detector. See if we can find a few more things. Alright, well, despite all of that sheet metal, I'm having a hard time finding nice, clean mid-tones, high tones. So I'm digging iron, and it just paid off big time. Look at this thing. Anybody know what that is? It's huge! Look at that. That is incredible. Big iron key. Could this have gone to the front door? Could this have gone to a giant padlock, locking up their ice? Could this, it could have gone to 100 things, but I like to think it went to the front door. That is awesome. I love finding these old keys. They're so personal. Somebody would have been carrying this with them everywhere, used it to protect what they cared about. An old iron key. So maybe you can see up behind me there's a bit of a clearing, sunny spot. That's where the cellar hole is, the main cellar. And I saw another clearing down here. So I walked down, and this must be where the reservoir was. It's kind of a big bowl shape. The bank is right there. So I would be underwater over my head here. In the middle of this kind of swampy area, there's a little stream. They would have dammed it up, filled up full of water. Wintertime, it would have froze. Cut out the ice blocks, stored them away for the summertime, and then sold them to the folks downtown. Pretty cool. Let me show you what it looks like here. So, you can clearly see this is kind of a swampy area. You've got some cattails out there. And you see this a lot, behind beaver dams, which have broken. This was underwater, and all of the trees died that were here, or cut down, I suppose. And then once the dam is gone, it becomes a kind of a little pasture, a little meadow. And the trees are slowly making their way in. It's pretty cool. So we're going to spend a little bit of time metal detecting down here. This would have been underwater for the period of time that they were here. And there would have been sediment and stuff kind of settling on top of whatever they may have dropped. So we'll just do a quick spin, and then we'll go up on what would have been the bank and spend more time there. See if we can find a few things. Okay, so I'm over here on the edge of the reservoir, what used to be a reservoir. I got a pretty deep target, dug it out. Check this out. You see that? We've got a thimble, and it's a special kind of thimble. Do you see this? The top is gone. I believe this is what's called a tailor's thimble. It allows you to have the tip of your finger through and gives you a little bit more dexterity. It's very small, so I would suspect, I mean, I guess it could be a small man, but I'm not the biggest guy in the world, so I assume this is probably a women's size. And she must have been out here, sitting out, looking over their little pond, mending some clothes. Really interesting. Let's see what else we can find. Whew, I think the bugs are worse down here. I got a pretty good target, and I chased it around for a long time because it's so absolutely small and delicate. But it's just a little piece of brass in the shape of a ring. It probably fit my pinky. I'm not so sure that this is a piece of jewelry. It could be anything. You know, it is brass, so it's a soft metal. It could have been used as a gasket or a washer or really anything, but because it's in pretty close proximity to that thimble, I'm gonna very hesitantly say that maybe it's a piece of jewelry. Since it is brass, it would have been polished and shiny and gold in color. Really cool. Alright, very nice. Alright, well, I just got another button tone, and I thought I was going to be adding to my already very large collection of buttons today. And I did, but this one is different. I rubbed it with my finger. You see that? That's an eagle with a shield. It is pretty crushed, unfortunately. You know, people would have been walking around, horses and oxen and all that, and it would have been stepped on. So we've got the Union shield in the middle. There's no A or I for infantry or artillery. So this may just be a general service. It looks like the back is still on there. So if I can get a back mark off that, maybe we can get a date on it. But you know, if these folks were up in here mid-1800s, late 1800s, very good chance this is Civil War. Awesome. Well, that's the find of the day so far. Military button. Pretty beat up, but piece of history for sure. Alright, well, now that I've been doing a couple loops around this property, really the only other pile of debris, rubble, you know, stones and stuff, is right here, which I'm going to have to guess is the ice house. I suppose the ice house could have been completely wood with no foundation, just sitting on the ground, but probably not. It probably had a foundation. I think this is it. So here you can see a pile of stones stacked maybe 2 or 3 high, and it's not really in the shape of a square. It might have been built up on pillars, perhaps, so maybe you get some airflow under the building. But this is my guess as being the ice house. They would have just packed it full of sawdust in the summertime to keep it from melting, and it would last probably all summer, although winters last quite a bit longer up here, so summer's not incredibly long. I haven't really found a road that kind of goes down to the reservoir, but they would have been dragging it up by horses or oxen and storing it here and then bringing it on out of here for sale. Man, I can't think of a profession more gone by. It just doesn't exist anymore now that we have refrigerators. Incredible. Alright, let's do some metal detecting around here. I'm over here next to the suspected ice house. I just got a mid-tone target. Check this out. Look at that. It's just a little fragment of a beautiful Conestoga bell. From what I understand, these were used for all sorts of things, but I've seen them a lot on this piece of wood with a bunch of these attached to it, and it would all move together and all ring, and there's no way to know for sure. I'm gonna suspect this was on the wagon that was pulling the ice out. Very, very cool. All right, see what else we can find. Well, I've got a little bit of a mystery item here. You notice this really big tree tipped over. With it, brought something almost to the surface. Right down here, there's a hard rock here, a bunch of roots. And this target, which was very shallow, I've already cleaned it off and looked at it a little bit. What do you think about that? I mean, it's clearly broken. I suspect it was a full circle at one time. It's very heavy. I don't think it's lead. It's not soft enough to be lead. At first I thought maybe it was a piece of a lamp, but they're not usually this heavy. Not entirely sure. Let me know what you think. It's pretty cool, whatever it is. Let's keep going. Alright, well, I just found something that's kind of a common find, but I'm excited about this one in particular because there's a brand name on it. There's a good chance that this was a more recent drop by the landowner or their family. We're going to be able to find out for sure based on that name. Let me get it cleaned up a bit. Alright, well, I think we got it. One side is better than the other. From left to right, we have Holley, Holly, MANUF, which I assume is short for manufacturing. Probably late 1800s, maybe early 1900s. All brass construction. You never see this because they're almost always wood or bone scales, and the name is long gone. Alright, hey, you know what? It's been a good long day. The deer flies are getting worse, so I'm going to pack up, see what we found today, and get out of here. Alright, throwing in the towel. These flies are eating me alive, but what an incredible place this is. We didn't find anything super valuable, no coins or anything, but that's somewhat to be expected by the altitude and, the profession. They probably didn't have a ton of money to drop in the first place. But some of the things that we found are just so personal to the people that lived here. They're some of my favorite things to find for sure. Let's take a look. Alright, check it out. We absolutely killed it with buttons today. 14 of them. They're mostly all just kind of the same mid 1800s and later. The Eagle button, which I believe is general service, probably Civil War era, but you have to keep in mind that there was virtually no Civil War activity up this far into Vermont, so this was more than likely dropped by a veteran who came home from the war. Right behind that, we have our beautiful big iron key, which is going to get a prominent place in my collection of other keys. It's probably the biggest one I have. That's awesome. The pocket knife, which I'm very excited about going out and doing some research on that. In the way back, we have our broken piece of bell, our finial, kind of mystery circle heavy brass thing. Looking forward to hearing what you guys think, and some spoon fragments. So today was an exciting day. A little bit slow metal detecting wise, but just the place, the incredible story, that moose, I wish I got it on camera. I don't know if I did or not, but just walking up on something that big in the forest when you're not expecting it, I'm still recuperating a little bit. My heart was beating. The things we found today, it's a very typical day out here in the woods. You're not going to find incredible things every time you go out, but the things we found, combined with the story, I think is pretty incredible. So I'm going to start hiking out of here. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next week.